I'm exhausted. I just want to start with that. I'm f***ing exhausted. Oh, I gotta cut all of that out for algorithm purposes and monetization purposes. But no, I am exhausted. I am just being right now is a lot. Yeah, no swearing. Being right now is a lot. The last 6 months has been the longest 20 years of the trans community's life. And I'm feeling it. I think a lot of us are feeling it. I'm probably feeling it less than most other people and probably even most people in this chat. But I'm feeling it. It is just exhausting right now. And I want to kind of go over everything that I can reasonably feel good about going over for at least the last 6 months, because it's been a while since I've streamed, and it's been a while since we've done a like check-in on the state of things here in the States. So we're just going to jump right into it, and we're just going to talk about stuff. So it's no secret since the last time I streamed that we now have a second Trump presidency. And obviously, it does not take a genius to know that that is bad for trans rights. Though apparently it does take an amount of intelligence that I was not expecting from some members of the online left. However, yeah, why is everything on fire looking out the window? However, it's not all bad. It's not completely hopeless, and I want to dispel the idea that it is hopeless, because I know it's easy to be really doomer right now. If I can go on a bit of a side tangent with this, it is related, but it is a bit of a side tangent. The really infuriating part of all of this is that the accelerationists got what they want and nothing is fucking being done about it. I'm seriously waiting. I'm seriously waiting for the accelerationism to start. But nothing is happening. They're wasting their shot. That said, we do need to talk about everything that's been going on. And it is pretty bad. It's not hopeless, but it is pretty bad. Given how much we keep seeing the Trump administration does something that is illegal, or does something that violates the Constitution, or does something that violates all existing known precedent of standards of decorum and legal theory and literally all established rules and precedent, and then people saying, wait, he can't do that, that's wrong, that's illegal, and then he just does it anyway, and then we just accept it and move on, rather than doing anything about it. And one of those things that Republicans have been trying to do since gaining power is putting more restrictions on trans people and putting more and more pressure on all of us to go back into the closet and to be forced to comply with what is essentially torture, what is essentially a form of social torture. I know that people are going to scoff at that definition, but they can go eat my left nutsack. They're going to have to go find it first, though. Even I don't know where it is. I can at least say we're somehow better than the UK. Yeah, we're going to get to it. So let's start. I have a bunch of articles. I have a bunch of articles that we're going to kind of like look at as kind of like a bit of a timeline of like what's been going on. And we're going to kind of talk about the state of things and where we can go from here. So to start, I want to highlight this. This is from the Pew Research Center. It is important to look at all of this because while it's not good. It's not going to make you feel great. The thing about this type of information is that it is both inherently flawed and also useful for gauging where to go from here. So it is worth noting that according to this Pew Research survey, majorities of U.S. adults are being swayed in the direction of restrictions on trans people in sports and banning trans healthcare for minors. Now, granted, we can see that it is not a strong majority for banning healthcare for minors, which is, I think that's worth noting and worth exploring why. However, the same majority of people are in support of protecting us from discrimination in jobs and housing. But you can look at this set of data here and you can tell that it is kind of sobering, to be honest. People are trending towards wanting us out of sports and wanting children to not be able to have life-saving medical care, and not wanting us to be able to use the bathroom in public spaces, and not wanting schools to be allowed to teach about gender, and wanting to prevent insurance companies from covering our medical care. I think that is very sobering. I also think that it is a flawed set of data. It is worth noting that the types of people who take these surveys are types of people who would take a survey, and the types of people who would feel like taking a survey like this typically have stronger opinions on things than the types of people who wouldn't. I still strongly hold to the belief that the vast majority of people don't give a shit about any of this because it doesn't affect them. They only give a shit about it when it is forced in front of their face by somebody who is leading them down a conclusion. This website is really good. This website is a very good resource if you ever want to check what each state is doing. Let's take a look at mine for a second. You can see there are 17 bills in Indiana. It was getting bad for a while. I will say I was paying attention earlier this year when they were just writing shit like the world was going to end tomorrow. And there was a lot of fucked up stuff that Republicans in Indiana were trying to pass. It is like really good to know. And this is part of where I'm going to try to convince you not to be a total doomer. Most of the stuff does end up being dead in committees, and does not end up actually getting passed. Now, as you can see, some of it doesn't. Like, for instance, they were going to ban changing your birth certificate. They were also going to make it to where anyone who had their birth certificate changed would have it changed back, which would, by the way, effectively make like any married woman in Indiana ineligible to vote. By the way, but this one failed. The bathroom ban failed. Oh, yeah. This one prevents people from being charged with child abuse if they are forcibly detransitioning their children. That one was passed. This is a really good resource if you ever want to see the state of things in your state. And it is hard to read sometimes because it is difficult, even when things are failing, like even when the laws are not passing. It is hard to look and see that somebody hates us that much that they're willing to like go through that much effort. Yeah, Pluvius, that is true. They do want to ban women's rights to vote. So it is not entirely out of the question that they would have that as an unintended consequence. It's just that at least right now they can't say that. So they gotta figure something else out. This article goes into basically like a more condensed version of the same thing, talking about a lot of the laws across each state. If you missed this moment months ago when Trump was threatening to take away funding in Maine over trans athletes, that was quite a sight, to be honest. Iowa removing gender identity protections from the state's civil rights code. This one is one that I was hesitant to talk about because it's not. This article is now outdated because while the House did pass this stupid fucking bill of dear leaders, the amendment that was introduced that would have made Medicaid forced to not cover transition care was removed because it didn't meet reconciliation rules. You can see here is the update to this. Texas laws are getting real bad. State definitions of what a man and a woman is. New requirements for medical records and insurance coverage. Less protections for queer youth. More restrictions on queer presence in schools. Now, there are a lot that failed. But Texas is like... Texas is very special. As was mentioned earlier, the UK is also getting really bad. Initially, I wasn't going to mention this because I was trying to stay in my lane and talk about things that I actually know about a little bit because I don't live in the UK and I don't know the situation there that greatly. But it is worth mentioning that this is not just unique to America. It is a lot of countries are starting to move towards a a state of fascism. And as this article points out, this is all authoritarianism. This is a really good read, by the way. I really encourage I'm going to put this in the chat because all of you should go read it. Not right now, obviously. Stay on the stream, but you should go read it. This is a really good read. Basically, it goes into how authoritarianism is kind of the direction that a lot of people are leaning towards as far as their desire for how to be led and how to force other people into social conformity. And that is the direction that we are seeing with the right and the way that it is infecting a lot of thought from the center. Now, it's not all bad, right? This one was really funny. Target getting booted from Twin Cities Pride, as God intended. In Montana, several Republicans joined to defeat a bunch of anti-trans legislation. And it's really good to see. Now, I know that this is a limited amount of good things. Honestly, looking at the state of the world, the most good that you're going to find right now is going to be at the personal level. It's going to be those small wins that we get in our personal lives is what we're going to have to hold on to, because a lot of the big wins are not here right now. And it's not because they're never going to come. It's not because we can't get there. It's because shit sucks. And the people who are in power are making it this way. And believe it or not, we do have the ability to affect that. We can change those things. And it's not just through voting, but it is also not through being disconnected from all of it. And it's also not through doomerism. Have your feelings. Take breaks where you need to. And remember that, fighting is as much a privilege as it is a necessity. Not everyone can. And not everyone is going to be able to. And not everyone can forever either. And I need all of you to remember that. Because the fact of the matter is, it's not going to get easier before it gets better. It's just going to keep getting harder. And we're going to have to adjust to that. And it's okay if you can't do everything. Voting is the least effective means of enacting change, but it's still effective. Yes. It is still effective. It is not going to change everything. Yeah, it's a last line defense. It is the least anyone can do. Well, what we're seeing is centrists sliding to the right. The reality of the situation is that we are more polarized than we were. People are at extremes right now because the world is in an extreme place. And that's how people react. When you are given extreme situations, they tend to go towards extremes. And the people who are left in the center are way more malleable than I would like, that I think anyone would like. And it is a lot harder to convince them of our position than it is to convince them of their position. Especially when right now the people in power have access to all of the world's propaganda and all of the world's money. That's really what we're dealing with. I don't want to dwell on this for too long. The intention is not to make this longer than it has to be. Like I said, stuff sucks right now. The state of the world as far as the trans community goes, it ain't good. And we have a lot of work to do. And over here, we're likely to go from a pretend left-wing government to a hard right one. Yeah. Yeah, radicalization is not unusual. It's, in fact, I think the most expected outcome in times like this. The circumstances that we are in are going to cause people to radicalize. Now, sometimes they will radicalize to good positions, and sometimes they'll radicalize to bad positions. But we have a lot of work to do to convince people. And it does take convincing people. I know that we all just want to smash things, and we all just want to get out and go firebomb a Walmart. But I promise you that firebombing a Walmart is not the most effective way of getting what we want. And it's not that it's not important to occasionally firebomb your local Walmart. For those who are watching, this is a joke. However, in addition to that, you also have to convince people. And not just convince people that firebombing the Walmart is what they should be doing, but convincing people that we can do things that don't require firebombing the Walmart in order to get what we want. And to get what is necessary for people. Yeah, and if it helps, by the way, to think of it this way, as Starm pointed out, there is really only up to go from here. We have not quite hit rock bottom yet. So take that with a bit of a grain of salt. But it is really hard for us to go much lower than this. And we can only go up. And I think that having that thought in your head is going to be more helpful. Remembering that there is hope, remembering that there are ways to help convince people out of the positions that they're in. And I know that this is difficult. I know that it's not possible for everyone. But I also know that it is possible. I know people who have been on both sides of this. And if we give up, it's not going to serve anyone. Now, that all being said, this is exhausting. It is exhausting having to fight every single day. It is exhausting having to convince people that I deserve to be treated with humanity, as if it's something radical that a human being should be treated with humanity. But it's what we've got to do. And it's the reality that we live in. Remember with all of this that it is okay to take breaks. It is okay to unplug. You don't have to be aware of everything. You don't have to fight all the time. Find support and community. That is important now more than ever. All of your loved ones are going to give you more support. You know, your mileage may vary. Than random Twitter communities. And that doesn't mean that the random Twitter communities can't turn into support networks. They can. But you need to find those. You need to leverage them. Because if we're not helping people out in the real world, none of this is going to matter. And yeah, it is in fact necessary to take breaks and to unplug. You cannot be plugged in all the time, or you will turn into a mess. Believe me, as someone who has been a mess for a year, I know. And at this point, I'm starting to talk in circles, so we're going to wrap this segment up. But I want to finish it up with just reminding all of you that no matter what, there is a future for all of us. We will get through this. And as hard as it is right now, this is just one roadblock along the way. We will win in the end. That's all I've got. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to give it a like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to support my work further, consider becoming a channel member, a patron on Patreon, or donating through my Ko-fi or my GoFundMe for gender-affirming surgeries. Any help is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.